Hey guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel, Astuteness at Peak, and today we are going to be studying English. We are starting with the first chapter of Vistas. This chapter is really interesting and I relate to it so much. Just like Charlie has a wake up, um, what does it give? What is? Yeah, waking dream wish fulfillment. I hope we all do have a waking dream wish fulfillment. I really hope that. So yeah, let's start with the chapter. I'll be reading the chapter so that we do not miss out any detail. We'll be underlining and marking important words and keywords that we are not going to skip in our answers, and also we'll be reading the smart notes side by side so that we keep connecting with the chapter. Okay, so let's begin. The third level by Jack Finney. Before you read, have you ever had any curious experience which others find hard to believe? The presidents of the New York Central and the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroads will swear on a stack of timetables that there are only two. But I say there are three because I have been on the third level of the Grand Central Station. Yes, I have taken the obvious step. I talked to a psychiatrist friend of mine, among others. I told him about the third level at the Grand Central Station, and he said it was a waking dream wish fulfillment. He said I was unhappy. That made my wife kind of mad, but he explained that he meant the modern world is full of insecurity, fear, war, and all the rest of it, and that I just want to escape. Well, who doesn't? Everybody I know wants to escape, but they do not wander down into any third level at the Grand Central Station. Okay, so first of all, the important words we do have here is the New York Central. It's not really that important, but I feel like it will add detail to the answer. And also Grand Central Station. Now, here's something crazy about this paragraph is that in the first paragraph itself, the author says that he discovered a third level of the Grand Central Station, but he has also taken the obvious step. He calls this step obvious. That is talking to a psychiatrist. So why does he talk to a psychiatrist? Because the narrator claims to have discovered a third level at the Grand Central Station that does not officially exist. So this is the thing about the third level. It does not officially exist. And only two levels are acknowledged. The first level where trains like the 20th century depart, and the second level where suburban trains leave. The narrator becomes convinced that the third level is real after finding evidence. This was the story overview. Okay, so when he talks to the psychiatrist says that this was a waking dream wish fulfillment, and I feel like this word is very important, but we'll have to check out the context to how to write it. The reason behind the discovery of the third level was the unhappiness of Charlie. And because the psychiatrist told that Charlie was unhappy, that made his wife kind of mad. And I think this is important for the character sketch of his wife. The wife is concerned about her husband, that is Charlie. So yeah, concerning. And why this makes his wife mad is because she thinks she is the reason behind it, which she does not like. Okay, so then he explains that this is because of the insecurity, fear, war, and worry, and all the rest of it of the modern world. And that's why Charlie wants to escape. Okay, let's continue. But that's the reason, he said, and my friends all agreed. Everything points to it, they claimed. My stamp collecting. For example, that is a temporary refuge from reality. Well, maybe, but my grandfather didn't need any refuge from reality. Things were pretty nice and peaceful in his day, from all I hear, and he started my collection. So first of all, he says that he's his friends are justifying the words of the psychiatrist that Charlie wants to escape. So he says that there's one more thing that justifies it, that is the stamp collection. But he also refutes it by saying that my grandfather also did it, but he didn't need any refutes from reality. It's a nice collection too, blocks of four of practically every US issue, first day covers, and so on. President Roosevelt's star collected stamps. Okay. Anyway, here's what happened at Grand Central. One night last summer, I worked late at the office. One night last summer, I worked late at the office. I was in a hurry to get uptown to my apartment. I was in a hurry to get uptown to my apartment, so I decided to take the subway from Grand Central because it's faster than the bus. Now, I don't know why this should have happened to me. I'm just an ordinary guy named Charlie. Okay, see, so he calls himself ordinary because he discovered something very unreal. 31 years old, and I was wearing a tan gabardine suit with a straw hat and a fancy band. Okay, I think I need to read this again. Anyway, here's what happened at Grand Central. One night last summer, okay, I worked late at the office. I was in a hurry to get uptown to my apartment. Okay, so this also explains something, that he was in a hurry to get uptown to his apartment because his home is a comforting place for him, because his wife is always concerned about him, and they make a good relationship. So his hurry to get to his apartment also tells him about that. Also tells us about that his wife was a caring character. Okay. Now, I don't know why this should have happened to me. I'm just an ordinary guy named Charlie, 31 years old, and I was wearing a tan gabardine suit and a straw hat with a fancy band. I pulsed a dozen men who looked just like me. Okay, so his dressing style is pretty normal and unpopular. No, I mean popular, right? Not unpopular. Unpopular would be something else, right? Like people would not wear any unpopular styles. It's very popular, I think. And I wasn't trying to escape from anything. Here's the important line. He didn't want to escape from anything. I just wanted to get home to Luisa, my wife. So he loves his wife a lot. I turned into Grand Central from Vanderbilt Avenue and went down the steps to the first level where you take trains like the 20th century. Then I walked down another flight to the second level where the suburban trains leave from. Okay, I'm recording, right? Yeah. Ducked into an arched doorway heading for the subway and got lost. So he got lost. That's easy to do. I've been in and out of Grand Central hundreds of times, but I'm always bumping into new doorways and stairs and corridors. So now, I don't think that's normal. Always bumping into new doorways, stairs, and corridors. It's definitely a sign of escapism, I think. Let's write it down. Escapism. Right? Once I got in a tunnel about a mile long and came out in the lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel. Okay. Another time I came up in an office building on 46th Street, 3 blocks away. So I don't think Grand Central is that big of a thing. Okay. Sometimes I think Grand Central is growing like a tree. So that explains what I just said, and that contradicts what I just said. It grows like a tree, pushing out new corridors and staircases like roots. There's probably a long tunnel that nobody knows about feeling its way under the city right now. Okay, there's probably a long tunnel that nobody knows about, feeling its way under the city right now, on its way to Times Square and maybe another to Central Park. And maybe because for so many people through the years, Grand Central has been an exit, a way of escape. Maybe that's how the tunnel I got into, but I never told my psychiatrist friend about that idea. So we need to look into this paragraph again because I think it's important, but I do not have a poetic explanation for it right now. You know what they say, like, why did the poet use I? What does he want to say? So, like, in that sense, but I feel like this is important. Okay. The corridor I was in began angling left and slanting downward, and I thought that was wrong, but I kept on walking. So he thinks it's wrong. His intuition is saying something to him. It's like asking someone, do you think the wind whispers something that we have forgotten how to listen? It's of that sense, but yeah, okay. But I kept on walking. All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps. Oh my god, this is so eerie. Let me write this down. This is so eerie. Okay, I did not pass a soul because how could a train station be that empty? And I heard that sort of hollow roar ahead that means open space and people talking. Thank God it did not turn into a horror story. The tunnel turned sharp left. I went down a short flight of stairs and came out on the third level of the Grand Central Station. For just a moment, I thought I was back on the second level, but I saw the room was smaller. There were fewer ticket windows. Okay, so this indicates why he thought it was the first level and something that confirmed that it was not, excuse my bad handwriting, but yeah, and it was not second level. The room was smaller, where there were fewer ticket windows and train gates, and the information booth in the center was wood and old looking, and the man in the booth wore a green eye shade and long black sleeve protectors. The lights were dim and sort of flickering, and then I saw why they were open flame gas lights. So this one is super, super, super important. It tells us, it indicates why how Charlie confirmed that it was the third level. There were brass spittoons on the floor, and across the station, a glint of light caught my eye. A man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch, and frowned. He wore a derby hat, a black four-button suit with tiny lapels, and he had a big black handlebar mustache. Okay, I don't handlebar. Okay, yeah, you can picture it, handlebar. It's a weird description. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed like 80, 90 something. I never saw so many beards, sideburns, and fancy mustaches in my life. A woman walked in through the train gate. She wore the dress with leg of mud and sleeves. This is also super important, even though it's a dressing style of 1890s. And we people tend to not memorize this information or recall this information, but this is super, super important because it is asked multiple times. Leg of mud and sleeves and skirts to the top of her high button shoes. In the next, okay. I feel like we need to draw visual and photographic memory for this. Leg of mud and sleeves, skirts to the top of her high button shoes, back of her out on the tracks. I caught a glimpse of a locomotive. So they're not trains but locomotives, and very small career. So this is gonna add lovely detail if you add this to your answers. Lovely, lovely, lovely detail. Career and ice locomotive with a funnel shaped stack. And then I knew to make sure I walked over to a newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers at his feet. It was the world. The world hasn't been published for years. The lead story said something about President Cleveland, right? Cleveland. It's Cleveland, and the Roosevelt did a stamp collection, and Cleveland, the news city in the newspaper, The World. Okay. I found that front page since in the public library files, and it was printed June 11, 1894. So this line is pretty confusing to most people, but it's pretty obvious if you read it again that when he got back when he got back from the third level, he went to a library, public library. He searched for the newspapers. He searched for the first page, which said something about the President Cleveland. And then he found out that it was printed on June 11, 1894. He did not see it right then and there when he looked at the newspapers. He saw it later on. So this is super confusing to some people, but yeah, I hope the confusion is clear right now. I turned toward the ticket windows, knowing that here on the third level of the Grand Central, I could buy tickets and would take Louisa and me anywhere in the United States we wanted to go. He loved Louisa, Louisa loved him. I cannot stop talking about it enough. In the year 1894, and he wanted 2 tickets to Galesburg, Illinois. Galesburg, Illinois. So this is also important. We need to remember certain specific details to make our answers look enriched. Have you ever been there? It's a wonderful town still with big old. Okay, so now here's the description of the houses of Galesburg, Illinois. It's where his father was. It's where his grandfather was from, right? Check. Yeah, grandfather. It was a grandfather. Have you ever been here? It's a wonderful town still with big old. Okay, let me change my pen. Big old frame houses, huge lawns, and tremendous trees whose branches meet overhead and roof the streets. Do you know canopy? Yeah, it's called canopy. Canopy. Okay. And in 1894, summer evenings were twice as long, and people sat out on their lawns, the men smoking cigars and talking quietly, the women waving palm leaf fans with fireflies all around in a peaceful world. To be back there with the First World War still 20 years off. The First World War was 20 years off, and imagine how good of a time it was. And World War II was 40 years in the future. I wanted 2 tickets for that. How could anyone not want tickets for that? Okay, we need to take a moment to register this. It sounds so peaceful. Okay, the clerk, I should pronounce it as a clerk, figured the fare. He glanced at my fancy headband, but he figured the fare. So there's the, you know, he finds it fishy. The clerk finds it fishy. The fancy headband, he finds it fishy. And I had enough for 2 coach tickets. One way, he had only enough fare for one way. So that sounds a little scary, but I don't think he cares. But when I counted out the money and looked up, the clerk was staring at me. He nodded at the bills. That ain't money, mister, he said. And if you're trying to skin me, you won't get very far. And he glanced at the cash drawer beside him. Of course, the money was old style bills, half again as big as the money we use nowadays, and different looking. I turned away and got up fast. There's nothing nice about jail, even in 1894. 1894. And that was that. I left the same way I came, I suppose. Next day during lunch hour, I drew $300 out of the bank. This shows how desperate and enthusiastic he was to go to the third level, to Galesburg, 1894. Nearly all we had. It was all he had. Do you understand the desperation? And brought old style currency that really worried my psychiatrist friend. Of course, it would worry anyone. You can buy old money at almost any coin dealers, but you have to pay a premium. My $300 bought less than 200 in old style bills, but I don't care. He doesn't care. Do you understand the desperation? Eggs were 13 cents a dozen. 13 cents a dozen. That's a cool. 13 cents a dozen. Okay, so 13 cents for 12 eggs. That's cool. But I've never again found that corridor. But I have never found the corridor that leads to the third level at the Grand Central Station. Although I've tried often enough. Louisa was pretty worried when I told her all this. Any sane person would be. And did not want me to look for the third level anymore. And after a while, I stopped. Okay, of course he loves his wife because he listened to her. Okay, I went back to my stamps. So he did went back. So he did go back, not went. Did plus V1 always, always. So he did go back to stamp collection, which is again described as an escapism hobby, but he did justify it that his grandfather also did it, President Roosevelt also did it. So yeah, but now we are both looking. So now his wife is also looking with him every weekend, that too every weekend, because now we have proof that the third level is still there. My friend Sam Wiener disappeared. Oh my god, the psychiatrist disappeared. Now some people would say just read your notes, man. Nobody knew where, but I sort of suspected because Sam's a city boy and I used to tell him about Galesburg. I went to school there and he always said he liked. Wait, yeah, okay. So Charlie did live in Galesburg. He went to school there. So that's something interesting. He did go to school there, but he's talking about Galesburg of 1894 that he wants to go to now. And also, we always do have nostalgia about where we had spent our childhood. So I think we also want to go there always. But okay, getting back to the story, and I used to tell him about Galesburg. I went to school there, and he always said he liked the sound of the place. We all do, and that's where he is. All right, in 1894, because one night, fussing with my stamp collection, I found. Well, do you know what a first day cover is? So our exam paper could also ask like, well, do you know what a first day cover is? So you need to tell him that when a new stamp is issued. Okay, so you need to, where do I write this down? Okay, so you need to memorize that new stamp issued. Stamp collectors buy some. Okay, I'm not writing stamp collectors, but buy some. When a new stamp is issued, stamp collectors buy some and use them to mail envelopes. And use them to mail envelopes. Okay? To themselves on the first day itself. First day itself. Very first day of sale. First day of sale. And the postmark proves the date. Postmark proves date. Okay? The envelope is called a first day cover. They are never opened. They are never opened because you just put blank paper in the envelope. Okay, so I hope everybody of you now knows that what a first day cover is. Let me review it for you. New stamp is issued, stamp collectors buy some, they mail envelopes to themselves on the very first day of sale, postmark proves the date, never open, and you just put blank paper in the envelope. That night, among my oldest first day covers, I found one that should not have been there. But there it was. It was there because someone had mailed it to my grandfather at his home in Galesburg. That's what the address on the envelope said, and it had been there since July 18, 1894. The postmark showed that, yet I didn't remember it at all. So, you guys know that Charlie is himself an avid stamp collector. So, he does remember all of his stamps and first day covers very clearly. He was fussing with the stamp collection and he found a first day cover that said July 18, 1894. and it was mailed to his grandfather at his home in Galesburg. Yet I didn't remember it at all. The stamp was a 6 cent dull brown with a picture of President Garfield. So till now, there's been three presidents in the story. President Roosevelt, who did stamp collection, President Cleveland, who whose news was there on the newspaper called The World, and it was published on printed on June 11, 1894. And then the stamp, 6 cent dull brown President Garfield stamp. Naturally, when the envelope came to the granddad in the mail, it went right into his collection and stayed there till I took it out and opened it. The paper inside wasn't blank. Why did he tell you this? Because first three covers are blank. Okay, so what does it say? Okay, remember this address: 941 Willard Street, Galesburg, Illinois, July 18. Okay, it was July 18, 1894. Charlie, I got to wishing that you were right. So the psychiatrist friend was rooting from sorry, the psychiatrist friend was rooting for Charlie. He got to wishing that he was right, and I got to believing you were right. You understand the magic behind these words? He was first wishing that hope Charlie was right, then he got to believe that Charlie was right. And Charlie, it's true. I found the third level. I've been here 2 weeks, and right now he's been there 2 weeks already. That's okay. That could be possible because between a psychiatrist and a client, there's no personal relationship but a professional one. So maybe they did not see each other. And right now, down the street at the daily, someone's playing a piano, and they are all out on the front porch singing, "Seeing Nellie home," and I'm invited over for lemonade. Come on back, Charlie and Louisa. Keep looking till you find the third level. It's worth it, believe me. I find this letter so cute and adorable. Notice sign Sam. At the stamp and coin store I go to, I found out that Sam bought $800 worth of wholesale currency. So you do know that psychiatrists do earn a lot, I think. That ought to set him a nice little hay, feed, and grain business. He always said that's what he really wished he could do. Oh my god. Do you see the correlation? Well, that's about crying. And he certainly can't go back to his old business. Yeah, of course. Now in Galesburg, Illinois in 1894, his old business. Why? Sam was my psychiatrist. Okay, I told you beforehand that Sam and psychiatrist are the same person, but this is revealed to the end of the story that Sam and psychiatrist are the same persons. Okay. So the rest of the smart notes, and I'll review this chapter again, but in another short video. So I know that not all of you are going to watch this long video. So I'm going to record another short video with important points and everything we need to add in the answers, and I'll be including the smart notes in there itself. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much. The third level by Jack Finney signing off.